consistency now.
And the other thing I want to touch up on is third map we're now seeing sub-player Crazies come off the bench and onto the core roster. And I gotta say, so far, he's been pretty impressive. Usually one is in this place, it's Blue and one as a DPS duo. This time around, we're seeing Blue and Crazies. And this combination has been fairly successful in context to how every other team has performed against DeToNator.KOREA. This being one of the closest matches we've had against DeToNator.KOREA. Crazies has been stepping up.
And that's the thing, the Sombra has been decent. It's looking like between that and his Zarya play, they've kind of got a plan around having Crazies on the line up tonight. But we do need to see that kind of come to culmination. Now going to be a quad tank here coming out for Logitech G Bang, looking to storm this point.
Now this is going to be very important for DeToNator.KOREA to read the pathing of Logitech G Bang. If they can get an interception dive to stop a Bang from just getting onto the point, that's important. And so far already getting themselves a kill.
Yeah, that was exactly the kind of target they need. Now picking Crazies as well. DeToNator, they spotted it out, they read it, and they reacted very good. Just the whole way through the courtyard and right off the edge.
Holding hands, just all off together.
That was actually so perfect. That was almost slapstick, man.
But speaking of perfect, DeToNator.KOREA responding exactly how they needed to. A Bang have to group up and they have to get onto the point together as a solid six-man unit. Now the problem is they ran directly onto the point from that middle section. A lot of teams will choose to rotate either left or right.
Yeah, gonna do the same thing again and again. Trying to grade by a grenade. They need to get the closeouts though, and it will have run out. They're able to get the health topped off. A Bang are actually set up on the point with a third already. Now actually, DeToNator, yeah, Coalescence as well. DeToNator the ones pressured to get on this point. A Bang have got the set up. So far, 1 for 1. Now starting to slip or slide the way of DeToNator.KOREA. Just shy of that second third as well as a little rough for a Bang. They nearly got it over that extra little mark, but that was progress.
Now you'll see the strength of a quad tank lineup or even a triple tank lineup at that is a huge amount of HP, the huge amount of damage mitigation, but the weakness also due to the fact that you're running a lot of tanks is that you require a lot of healing. There's a lot of upkeep now. OYO changing onto the Zenyatta as everyone decides to go on the dive. The quad tank is no longer working because DeToNator.KOREA are so consistent at eliminating those supports.
Yeah, they know that the comp had been read and the plan had been read as well, but now we kind of go back to a lot of what we were seeing on both Hollywood and Ilios, and that is the counter dive from DeToNator.KOREA, picking the supports very quickly, not quite getting covered enough by the tanks, and the fight just kind of sliding the way of DeToNator from there.
And the use of the nano boost to rotate back into ultimate so good for DeToNator.KOREA as well. Note that we're nearly at 90% for Blitz's next Dragon Blade. He just used a Dragon Blade on the last defense when a Bang was still onto the quad tank this time around. For this next defense, he's going to have another Dragon Blade. Such a good play.
I mean, Logitech are already playing that compositional catch up. It's only compounded now by the fact that DeToNator are also rotating through a lot of good ultimates with very high efficiency, low economy fights. We see that once again here, and only the Dragon Blade resulting in another fight win for DeToNator.
Now the other big weakness, and I can't believe I didn't touch up on this one because this is actually a huge one, the fact that when you're running 4 tanks is a lot of HP, and a lot of HP means a lot of ultimate charge. That's why you see DeToNator.KOREA being so far ahead in terms of ultimates. Second to that, a Bang also fully changed compositions, which means it's going to take them some time to get their own ults.
Stick but no closeout onto Smiteable gives them a window, but he's already low again. Sound Barrier kind of having to rescue Smiteable and also hopefully let them get onto the point, but they're a little bit split apart here. This isn't quite the convincing sort of unified maneuver that a Bang were looking for. They do pick Modern, but the rest of the team being too split means they're going to get picked off, and those few remaining going to have to take a dive.
Now we're sort of starting to see the same kind of mistakes we saw into Hollywood, right? When a Bang were ahead, they weren't looking to set up dives, they were just very interested in getting these big, aggressive, long dives straight into the back line of DeToNator.KOREA if they could. But the problem is, DeToNator.KOREA being the veteran dive team that they are, able to read the movements of Logitech G Bang so well. So for a Bang, they need to slow things down somewhat, look for better dives, rotate around the sides.
That was a pretty decent block there, and again, now just rotating through via the nano boost that forces a Transcendence out of OYO. That's a catch on Crazies. That's super unfortunate because I was about to say this is a window for a Bang, actually. They were
only 10 seconds.
Advantage, but yeah, now that window's closed, the members are dead, and they're still getting staggered out here. A Bang. There's no good way through this. Narc is still just stuck out here alone. Gonna have the Primal Rage just to buy time alone on the point. Probably gonna die pretty quickly as well while the team is still getting back to him at best. This is a 5 versus 6. They still haven't had a chance to use those ultimates. That was the moment for a Bang, but once again, the execution was there for DeToNator.KOREA and it wasn't there for a Bang.
I'm glad the smiles are there for a Bang because right now, not a lot of other things are there, unfortunately, for this Hanamura map. Now, when you look at the series, Ilios, that was close. Hollywood, a little bit less close going to Hanamura. Hanamura, this is starting to look like a one-sided affair, the kind of one-sided affair that you had expected DeToNator.KOREA to come into the series with. And when you go back to how exactly we got into this position, look again at that opening play from ABANG with the quad tank going onto Hanamura. A lot of teams would prefer to either rotate left or right into the building, make the long journey around the sides, then position themselves onto the point as a six-man unit. Much harder for DeToNator.KOREA to get a response dive when that happens. But for this team, ABANG very interested in just walking straight into the point, and they were punished very hard for it.
And it does feel like DeToNator.KOREA as well. In that break, read what has been working for them on the last two maps where they've been able to win fights. And a lot of it has been the decisive dives, the proactive moves, often the counter dives as well. When they're not letting ABANG call the shots, they're tending to win, and we're seeing that decisiveness carried forward here in reading the positioning of ABANG, reacting quickly, being proactive, and not hesitating. And that's the thing, this isn't a team that usually hesitates, so this is really DeToNator.KOREA just looking a bit more like themselves.
But we also describe Logitech G ABANG as needing and also having some of those qualities as well, right? Proactiveness, decisiveness. ABANG have been decisive, they have been proactive. The difference between Hanamura and Ilios is their proactiveness on this map. DeToNator.KOREA have had the right responses. Logitech G ABANG have made decisions, but those decisions have been countered by DeToNator.KOREA's ability to read that and adapt to it.
And this is, in fact, a Torbjorn and a Mei. It's interesting, when we do see Torbjorn on Hanamura, which we did used to see for a little while, often you see it set up in that far right back corner from the attacker's perspective. So setting it up in the middle of this courtyard could actually be a bit risky. It kind of leaves the turret quite vulnerable, actually. So we'll have to see what ABANG's plan is here.
By the way, it's not just the Mei, it is the Mei combination with the Hog. So the strategy here is Smilaball's going to go for a hook. Crazy's then immediately walls off the rest of the team. And by the way, it's combined with the fact that there is a Orisa with a Halt for added insurance. So the wall here is actually very important to stop DeToNator.KOREA from reinforcing to save that hook member.
This is about as close as you get to a pick comp in Overwatch. But unfortunately not able to get that ideal pick. They've got Modern though, that's just all they need here. Rez trying to come in from Sleepy Bear, but unfortunately, you saw Krong just kind of bailing at that exact same moment as well. So at least neither Sleepy Bear nor Modern died, but DeToNator.KOREA have had to reset themselves.
Still waiting to see what kind of pressure Taheem can add as well, because the one thing that Logitech G ABANG are going to somewhat struggle with in terms of contesting is Taheem. They don't have their own divers, they don't have a lot of good abilities to really take the damage to Taheem, and right now you're starting to see him do some work, taking down the turrets, forcing the turret backwards.
That's big, catch on Oyo. They were looking to have him set up kind of stealthy on the side. They get one trade back onto Apache, but they're going to need a lot more. Closing out Sleepy Bear, that's pretty ideal. Halting Modern off the edge. There is one trade back there as Narc goes down. I actually think it's going to have to be DeToNator.KOREA that have to give up this fight, though. So that means that ABANG can get Oyo back in and hopefully restabilize on the defense.
And I was just going to say, though, these trades do work in favor of DeToNator.KOREA, but the problem is there was one res coming up for Narc. Now, Blue, you don't have to res him. He's a tracer. He'll blink back to the point. But if Narc didn't get that res, it was going to take him a long time to get back onto A. That would have been time that DeToNator.KOREA can use to abuse the respawn distance. But for ABANG, they get their defense again.
Blitz recognizing that they kind of want an EMP. Oh, not quite placing that wall to stop up Apache. He's able to drop back down, and that means no wall now. DeToNator.KOREA recognize the opportunity and go diving in. It is into a molten core, though. And the Blizzard, they're looking to go all in. It's fire and ice, and it is paying off for ABANG. But DeToNator.KOREA are kind of looking to just play the game here and build up the EMP, play the ult economy game.
And it's not just the EMP, right? Like you said, the whole ult economy game, which means they need to get other ultimates out of ABANG, getting two big ones, in fact, make that three, because the Valkyrie from Shin was also used, very important for DeToNator.KOREA. The bigger problem for DeToNator.KOREA was they only realized they need a Sombra far too late. They're only now kind of building into the EMP, but we've only got roughly 1 minute something left, so Blitz needs to build this very quickly.
I mean, that's the thing, they've recognized it. Maybe too late, but maybe just in the nick of time. Either way, they're probably only going to get one chance to use that EMP. That is, by the way, if they don't break this point prior to that. You can never underestimate this team. A hack onto Crazies is really big, really hurts his, oh dear, utility, and that means he can't ice block on the point. And this is Shin as well, getting pressured out. The flank is good here from DeToNator.KOREA. However, they are now very all in, but it's paying off. That should be the fight right about there. Crazies has only just respawned. He is nowhere near this point. Blue is the last member here. May try to duck and weave, buy some overtime. No such luck. That's the 3-0. It's DeToNator going to the semis.
And a bang, they put up a fantastic fight. This was a very good showing, and now we finally get to say they get to go out of the season with a bang. And unfortunately, not going to see them continue into the semis, but we did expect DeToNator.KOREA to come out as the stronger team at the end of the day. Now, this Hanamura map in specific, so it was, of course, that initial defense from DeToNator.KOREA that allowed that quick cap to come on through. I say quick, though, it was only quick in terms of objective time. It wasn't quick in terms of the actual time spent. It was only like 40-something% to cap, but they took like 3 and more minutes to cap it.
That was pretty interesting as well, because right at the end there, you saw the win conditions for both of those teams. And as it turned out, DeToNator won off what hadn't even been their planned win condition. They were planning on, like we said, playing the ult economy game, building up the EMP, looking for that opportunity, disabling the turret with said EMP, disabling the Mei, but instead getting a right-click hack onto the Mei, and then just closing out with the flank and the dive like had been so successful in the past, ended up being all they needed. And that's the thing, that's the power of DeToNator.KOREA and perhaps Logitech to your bang, almost forgetting for a moment that that was in the DeToNator.KOREA playbook. That was always an option to send the flankers in. Pays off for DeToNator.KOREA. They punched their ticket, but I have to say, quarterfinal appearance aside, that was also a really solid series from a bang. They have absolutely made their mark here on Season 1 of Pacific Contenders, even though they don't advance further. And congratulations, of course, to DeToNator.KOREA, continuing that kind of royal road to the finals.
And it does feel like a royal road, right? Because the first time they, as a full 6-man unit under DeToNator.KOREA, get to play at a Contenders level event. And right now, they look like they're about to go all the way to the grand finals. They still have a semi-final to get through first, and that's still going to be a tough match. But for the time being, they look like one of the favorites. At the end of the day, it was still a 3-0 in this very quarter. Now, a bang. We've sort of covered already, had some really good moments, but specifically those moments look like they could have been a bang maps. Definitely map wins within Ilios, and then even Hanamura right at the end there. When you looked at Hanamura on that bang defense, there were moments where you kind of thought, well, we're running out of time here.
Yeah.
Don't quite see an EMP. It's a late Sombra swap. There is a world where DeToNator.KOREA do not win this map, and I think the comparison to the Hong Kong Attitude match with DeToNator.KOREA is an apt one because, I mean, when you look at this, a bang really pushed DeToNator.KOREA, and DeToNator.KOREA very nearly didn't get that 3-0 sweep.
And that's the thing. I mean, we kind of go back to it quite a lot here, but it's two sides of that. I mean, it is just the danger of DeToNator.KOREA. If you don't keep tabs on them, if you don't keep a lid on them at all times, then, like, conventional win condition be damned. A lot of the time, this team will just outmaneuver you, out-execute, outflank, all the outwards, basically. Outfrag, that's a good one. Like, things will just start going their way because they are an incredibly good team when it comes to just playing the fight, ults notwithstanding. And that's something you always have to be prepared for. And every time we saw a bang slip up on that, even if only slightly, it turned into a DeToNator.KOREA win. You can't even blink against this team sometimes, it seems. It's like time moves slower for them, right? You're blinking for a half second, like they see it as you lying down and taking a nap, practically. They will pounce on that opportunity, and odds are they're going to win the fight from there because they are just that good. And
the other thing about DeToNator.KOREA that makes them so good is they're a team that actually improve within the series itself. I mean, this is a team that, again, the difference between map 1 and map 3 here, and part of that was a bang as well. Like, a bang is starting to run out of ideas. You start to see them not get the same amount of success with their tried and true strategy of let's get into fights, let's be proactive, let's be decisive, let's force these brawls to happen. And now brawls are good for a bang because they got good, skilled, mechanically skilled players, but so did DeToNator.KOREA. And at the end of the day, DeToNator.KOREA have much cleaner macro, and that shows on maps 2 and 3 specifically, and even map 1, you'll give them that because it was still a 2-0 sweep, despite it being a close 2-0 series on Ilios. Look, DeToNator.KOREA actually got better within the series. That's a very scary thought.
And the reality is as well, we can talk about how close things looked and how it may have gone the way of bang in many situations, but the reality is 3 maps in a row it did not. Not once. It always went the way of DeToNator Korea. You can have that be the case for every single match all the way up until you take the championship title at the end of the day, right? As long as you're always the team that actually gets it over the line, that actually executes and is always just that little bit better when it counts the most, that is all it takes to win outright. And this does seem to be one of those teams that almost plays the level of their opponent a little bit. I feel like as the rest of these playoffs play out, I think every time we come across this team, we're going to be saying a similar thing. Let's hear, though, what they have to say about it. We're going to be catching up now with Modern.
Hi. Hello. 我们这次呢，当然要先问一下他们啦，因为他们现在目前在我们的联赛中呢是0败的战绩，其实是非常厉害，然后位居第一名。那想问一下他自己觉得，他们的队伍和其他队伍有没有什么比较不一样的地方呢？
Right, so I believe the question was, what do you feel is different about your team? What are the sort of the unique aspects of DeToNator Korea?
저희 팀은 아마도 게임의 오더가 앞라인 쪽에서 나오다 보니까 다른 팀에 비해서 상대편 쪽에 깊게 들어가가지고 포커싱을 잘 해낼 수 있는 것 같습니다.
他说，因为他们队伍可能就是控制，就是在战略上的控制得比较好，所以就是可以比较深入敌营啊，所以就是在比起其他队伍来讲，就是有办法就是集中集火在某个地方。
So we as a team we're able to read situations quite well and find openings and find wins.
直接抢走了2个 highlight， 就是队友都没機會。他今天是狀況特別好嗎？他有覺得很開心嗎？
So it appeared that you had a pretty good game. Did you feel, I believe there's something about highlights there, maybe play the game, but did you feel you had a particularly good performance? How do you feel about your showing today?
평소보다 조금 잘하지 못한 것 같은데 그냥 어떻게 우연히 그런 기회가 있어가지고 그냥 궁 써가지고 상대편 밀어가지고 그냥 운 좋게 얻은 것 같습니다.
他说就是他觉得他今天其实状态没有很好，但是可能是今天就是很偶然的就变得就是很厉害，然后就会就上了2次highlight这样子。
So yeah, I was able to get a couple of good plays, but otherwise still not feeling 100%.
虽然他们是位居第1名嘛，但想必应该还是会觉得有哪一支队伍比较算是他们的威胁吧。
What is the other team that you're really looking at right now?
가장 위협적이다라고 생각하는 팀이 어느 팀인지.
저는 개인적으로 블랭크 e스포츠가 아무래도 B그룹의 1위를 차지했기 때문에 가장 위협적인 팀이 아닌가 생각하고 있어요.
他说他觉得应该还是 Blank 吧，因为就是他们现在是 B 组的第1嘛，所以就是可能是最具危险性的。
所以是把 Blank 列为目前最大的对手，甚至有可能最后会碰到对方喽。那再来想问一下，因为一路以来队伍其实都打得非常顺利，但在这期间会不会想说可以刚好顺便偷练个特别的战术之类？可是看他们好像都没有这样做。
It doesn't seem like you have any sort of really out there strategies. You've been a very consistent team so far.
아무래도 지금까지 해오는 게 잘 되다 보니까 각 상황에 맞춰가지고 바꿀 수 있어도 굳이 전체적으로 바꿀 필요성은 못 느끼고 있습니다.
他说，因为他们现在就是团队合作啊，跟就是战略之类的都做得很好，所以他们觉得没有那个必要，就是去改变这个战略啊，或者是他们的就是团队合作。
We don't feel a need to do anything strange. What's working for us right now is working.
那我们接下来休息一下，第2轮对战准备。
And that was the post-match interview with Modern from DeToNator Korea. So as expected, you know, definitely still feel like Blank is the other big team there. Not 100% happy with their performance, and I would say somewhat deservedly so. They had to really fight for that victory against a bang, but that is the first quarterfinal done and dusted, which means we have one more this evening. That one's going to be between Mega Esports and Marchi Esports, happening right after this break.